Hey there, it's Kristen. For those of you following along, today is day 3 of the 30-day challenge to living well essentially. For the next 30 days, I'm going to share with you ways you can change your mindset and your habits so that you too can be living well essentially. Over the last couple of days, we've talked about habits and how to change them. We've talked about the phases you go through when changing a habit, and we've talked about how long it takes to make those changes. Yesterday, we started on the 5 steps of changing a habit. And so yesterday we did step 1, which was write out a plan of action. Today, we are going to talk about step 2. And step 2 is working on a non-conscious level. So what does that exactly mean? As we've been talking about, our current habits are rooted in the non-conscious component of our brain. It's where we act on autopilot, which is why a habit is something we do over and over and over again without thought. I mean, think about your morning routine. Think about the way you get dressed in the morning. Think about putting on a pair of pants. You probably always put the same leg in first, and you really don't even think about it. But in order to change our thinking and our behavior patterns, we have to be deliberate in our thoughts and in our actions in order to implement the new habits. So how do you do that? How do you change out behavior patterns to implement the new ones that you want happening at the non-conscious level so that you can get to that phase of integration that we talked about? You can do it with a technique called the 5-second rule. Now, I can't take credit for this technique because it was developed by Mel Robbins, and she actually wrote an entire book on this method, how it works, why it works, the science behind it. But it's a pretty simple technique, and it has a really profound effect. So basically, you take 5 seconds to stop the automatic behavior so that you can be deliberate in your behavior and your thought patterns that you want to implement. So when you're standing there at that point where you recognize the triggers and emotions that cause you to make unhealthy choices, you stop and you count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you redirect yourself to doing the action or behavior that you want to change. The reason this works is because counting is automatic. We can do it without thought. But when you count backwards, it requires you to focus. So let's use this in a real life situation, for example. Say you're working on being a more patient and loving spouse or parent. And you're walking in the door from a very long day, and you're frustrated and you're tired. What is the first question they're going to ask you? What's for dinner? They ask you this every single day, and every single day it causes the same level of frustration because all you can think to yourself is, why am I solely responsible for providing their dinner? So before walking into the door, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath. You know they're going to ask the question, but try and change your train of thought and think, they ask me this question because it's a comfort to them to know that I'm providing their most basic need. Or what about that moment when you are standing in front of the pantry or refrigerator and you're reaching for that unhealthy snack or that unhealthy meal? Stop in that moment and count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and allow yourself to be deliberate. Think about the choice you're about to make and remind yourself that eating healthy is a privilege and not a punishment. The beauty of this technique is it gives you a chance to listen to your inner voice and trust your instincts. So your challenge is to go back to the triggers and emotions you wrote down the other day and write out next to them, what is the action or decision or behavior you can do in that moment when you find yourself having to count backwards? And start using the 5-second rule throughout your day when you feel or recognize the triggers that cause you to fall back on your unhealthy habit. All right, so join me tomorrow as we discuss step number 3 of the 5 steps to successfully changing a habit and making it stick in our 30 days to living well essentially challenge. And be sure to check out Mel Robbins on YouTube or Instagram. Maybe even read her book. I have found her information to be very valuable and insightful, both in my personal growth and in my business growth. All right, guys, I will talk to you later.